Adjectives, simply put, are words that describe nouns. Femina est cara, the woman is loved. Our adjective cara, loved or dear, describes the femina, the woman. Because of that, cara shares the same case, number, and gender as femina. It's a loved woman. So the adjective is joined directly to the noun it describes. But adjectives have another trait independent of nouns, and that's what's called degree. An adjective can be positive, comparative, or superlative. This video introduces the comparative degree, what it is, what it looks like, and how you can understand it. As its name suggests, a comparative is used when you want to compare two different nouns. So if we look in English, and we'll get to the Latin in a second, if we look at dear, that's the positive form, dearer is the comparative form, and dearest is the superlative form, and this is the highest degree of the adjective. In Latin, each of these degrees has a different form. Using cara to mean dear, the positive is carus aum, and that illustrates the three genders. The comparative would be carior, and that's the masculine and feminine form, with the neuter carius. And the superlative is carissimus aum. I've already discussed the superlative degree in another video, and right now we're going to focus on this comparative form, carior. For the sake of brevity, I'll deal with only the masculine-feminine form ending in ior. But it is important to know that comparatives take third declension endings. So here's the full declension of carior, carius, and notice how the neuter gender only differs from the masculine and feminine in the nominative and accusative cases. The comparative is formed from the positive form by adding the ending ior to the stem of the adjective without any final vowel. So if the adjective ends in us, like carus, we drop off the us and add the ior. Here's altus, deeper high in the positive, altior, deeper higher in the comparative. If we have an adjective in the third declension, like lewis, light, the stem is lewi, and the I at the end gets dropped off, and we add ior to get lewior, meaning lighter. For the adjective felix, meaning happy, the stem is actually felik, and the nominative form adds an S to this stem, and the combination of the C and the S gives us an X. And so the comparative form is felicior, happier. Unlike the superlative, though, there are not other ways to form the comparative. You'll do well to recognize it by this ior ending, which corresponds pretty nicely to the er ending for the comparative in English. Felicior, happier. There are some words that have irregular comparative forms, and check these out because they are pretty common. Bonus, good, has melior, better, as its comparative. Malus, bad, goes to peior, worse. Magnus, great, leads to maior, greater. And the words major and mayor come from maior, by the way. Its opposite is parvus, small, and minor, less. And one more, multus, much or many, has plus, more, as its comparative. And yes, the English minus and plus come from the Latin comparatives, meaning less and more. The comparative is used to compare two objects. So like, this girl is smarter than that boy. I'm going to start off here by using the word quam to mean than, by the way. Haec puella est calidior quam ille puer. In this sentence, calidior is in the nominative case because it agrees with the puella, and the object she's being compared to, the boy, is also in the same nominative subject case. When you use quam, the two objects of comparison are in the same case. Canis meus est ferocior quam feles mea. My dog is fiercer than my cat. Hoc flumen est latius quam illud flumen. This river is wider than that river. Notice that we use latius here because flumen is in the neuter gender. One more example. Soror mea habet plures liberos quam animalia. My sister has more children than animals or pets. Our two objects of comparison here are the children and the animals, and they're both in the same case, which in this case happens to be the accusative. We can also remove the quam, though, and put the object of comparison into the ablative case. And I'll be brief about this since it's a bit more complex than using quam, and let's get back to the rivers. Hoc flumen est latius. This river is wider, and that's the same, but let's continue. Illo flumine, then that river. And this is a use of the ablative called the ablative of comparison. If you're a beginner to Latin, I wouldn't worry too much about this. File it away and focus on using quam to mean than. If you'd like to learn more about this, though, check out my video on this ablative of comparison, rule number 45, in my 91 Rules of Latin Grammar series. You can also use the comparative in Latin if you want to show a considerable or excessive degree of something without feeling the need to compare it to something else. So you come across a river and see that it isn't just deep, it's rather deep. Maybe not the deepest river you've ever seen, but deep just isn't a good enough term to describe this river. So you can use the comparative there. A flumen altius. Remember, altius is the neuter form. My students can be audaciores, too bold. Latin can also get by with using the word magis to mean more, in the same way that English does without using the comparative degree, especially with adjectives that end in eus or ius. So, hic magister est magis idoneus quam ille. This teacher is more suitable than that one. And note that the adjective idoneus isn't comparative. Magis also works if we want to compare two adjectives. Vir est stultus magis quam sapiens. The man is foolish more than he is wise. But let's get back to using the comparative without magis in this example. Murus erat longior quam latior. The wall was longer than it was wide. In summary, the comparative adjective is generally used to compare two objects. In Latin, we identify it by the ending ior, with the ius ending used for nouns in the neuter gender. This adjective takes third declension endings. In English, we often see the suffix er, or the word more used to translate it, but rather or to also works if you're not directly comparing your noun to anything else. Oh, and not every adjective has need of the comparative degree. Take argenteus, silver, made of silver, silvery. Can you really have something that's more silvery or rather silvery? Common sense should prevail. And if you haven't already checked out my video on the superlative degree, please do so.